Alrighty. Yeah, we're at time. I think we're broadcasting now. So if anyone from the general channel, general stage can give us a thumbs up, just to making sure everyone can see us now. Let's wait for a few minutes. Great. So there might be a little bit delay from the from our side versus the general stage, general channel. So just be mindful of that. Vanya is getting ready to get this started. Let's give Vanya a couple minutes to get to the slideshow ready for us. So today, this session we will be practicing, or this quest we will be doing is the introductory part of a series of quests we will be doing in the next few weeks. So this quest, we covered the first lab last year in the Dev Fest. At the end, we did a workshop on that, and the remaining sessions we haven't really done, with our participants on camera in a sort of live environment. So today we are going to go through the lab 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Keep in mind that after this session, please complete the first lab, because once you complete the first lab, it will give you 1 month free access to skill boost. And if you can spend time to finish the entire quest, it will give you the second month for free. Then you can start exploring more into the series or any other quest that is available on skill boost. During our session today, I will also mention based on the specific introductory lab we have, where are the other interesting quests that you can participate. Personally, I have done a bit of the IoT data processing in the past few weeks, and which is very fun in the sense that you can leverage all the introductory labs you're doing today, but put into a little bit more context or a little bit more real world example, and how do you see the data come in, and when you use either data prep or data flow to processing your data, and then ingest that data to BigQuery, and then eventually use Data Studio to dashboarding your data, your analytic solutions. Vanya, let us know once you're ready. You can start sharing your screen and just start the video.
Hi, thanks, Ray. Yeah, I'm going to share my just right away. Oh, one moment. Can you see me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, sorry about that. Hello, everyone. Good morning. We are happy that you join us today for the first session of the machine learning series at the Google Cloud Platform. My name is Vania Hanadiuk, and I'm part of GDG Cloud Edmonton, and we are led by Shinli Kai, our founder, Rohan Saha, our vice president, and Ray Pan, as have you met him. He's our technical guru for this event today. We are integrated by 755 members, and we have organized Python and machine learning bootcamps, technology events such as DevFest, Flutter Study Jam. We want to do a friendly reminder of our code of conduct. We are committed to providing a friendly, safe, and welcoming environment for all, regardless of gender, sexual orientation, ability, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, and religion. This is the learning path that we are going to follow in the upcoming Cloud Study Jam. Perform foundational data, machine learning, and artificial intelligence tasks in the Google Cloud is the one that we are going to start today. In this quest, We are going to manipulate a data set, create a streaming pipeline, and performing some sentiment analysis through the Cloud Natural Language API. Just fun stuff. Just a reminder, you can access to our website on an incognito mode. I'm going to drop the link here in the chat.
Just a friendly reminder here, if you do have your Quick Lab or Skill Boost logged in before, it is best to log out first and then click the link, just so that you can have sort of the right process of register the access code and then enjoy this quest for free.
And this is the code that you will have access to the Quick Labs.
Vanya, do you mind also copy paste that code and put it into chat?
For sure. Yeah, then you will have the following screen that you can sign up for Quick Labs. And you can start and complete the first lab. I'm going to pass it to Ray.
Yeah, thanks, Vanya, for that. So in order for this to smoothly get started, and again, as we mentioned, the main sort of purpose of this quest, it is very introductory, and what we want to making sure is everyone knows how to access the quest that we'll be accessing. And I believe in 3 weeks that we are going to do the second sort of intermediate kind of quest. We will follow the same process to access the lab. We just want to make sure this lab we will spend enough time just to making sure everyone knows how to access that. And then let's touch on some of the sort of the fundamental services that we will be using more and more in the later quest. So in our chat, okay, I do see a question now. Ryan mentioned. Now I'm going to share my screen. Okay, we cannot access your screen. Just one sec. Apologies. Let me see. How can I give access to the screen? Alrighty. Yeah. So Ryan, to your question, today's quest we'll be accessing is the machine learning and artificial intelligence learning track, and we will do the first one, perform fundamental, foundational data, ML, and AI tracks. So once you are ready, you can click into the enroll. I will need to adjust my screen share a little because currently it is only allowing me to show the specific lab. So once I click into enroll, you will not be able to see my next screen. But yeah, once you get in there, it will ask you to enter your code. And there, you just copy paste the code we just pasted in the chat, and then you should be able to have access to that. Bear me a minute that I will set up my my browser sharing. Vanya, meanwhile, do you want to start your video just to making sure everyone knows we're still on here? Vanya, you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, I just have pinned the website for two quick labs and also the code. And I have just shared shared the website directly to the quest. Can you please let us know on the chat if you have entered to the quest?
Great. So a couple of people already at the quest. So just keeping in mind when you first start, start your quest or start your quest, it will automatically taking you to the first one. In this specific study jam, we'll start from the second lab just because the first one we already covered in the past. So the quest we will immediately start is data prep, quick start. So let me know if you will have problem entering this one. Yeah, my apologies. I was not able to share my entire browser, so I will be quite a bit of a tab switching during our demo. So there are two sort of interfaces. One is the Cloud Scale Boost page, as you can see here. This is basically the introduction or the steps we would follow to complete a specific quest. Once we start the lab, there will be a link to open a Cloud Console based on the credential that is provisioned for you. So at that time, I would switch to the Cloud Console so that we can execute the steps there, and constantly checking back to this page where the instructions are. And some of the times that you do need to click the copy from the page. Let me actually see for this first one. Yeah, you do need to copy, you click the copy button just so that it's registered in the page that at the end, our end goal is to making sure we reach the 100 out of 100. Then we end the lab. That's when this lab would consider to be done. Alrighty, with that being said, if everyone can start click on the start lab, we will start from there. So once we click start the lab, this will provision a list of credentials that we will be using, the username, the password, and the project ID. When you click the open Google Console, it will open another tab. This is when I will switch my screen share to a different tab. This will be this one. Okay, so most of the demo, I will share the screen from here. So when you click on that link, it automatically email address has already been provisioned for you. We click next, then we can copy the password from the Cloud Boost page. This will give you the access to this console or the provisioned environment that we will be doing this lab. Okay. Now, there are a few steps that the few sections of each lab. It is common through all the different labs. So as long as you follow one of them, later on you can jump right into the section that's where we actually start the quest. So for the data prep. Quick start in the Cloud Boost console, you can see there's an overview, basically an introduction on what we will be doing in this lab. So in this lab, we will be using the data prop to manipulate a data set. We import that data sets from a data source that is stored in GCS, Google Cloud Storage, and then we added the different recipes to manipulate that data. So there are two parts of this lab. The first one, we manipulate a single data source. In the second one, we would do a table join. Keep in mind that there's certain scripts in this lab is a little bit outdated, so we will do the proper correction so that you can complete this lab. The setup and the requirements is just an introduction on how you would be able to access the Cloud Console. So if we can, let's jump into the create cloud storage bucket in your project. So we will do this together with everyone. So on your navigation menu on the sidebar, you can jump to the cloud storage, and you will get into the sort of the browser page. We will create a bucket. Keep in mind that the name for your cloud bucket need to be universally unique. So in this case, in order to avoid any duplication or try and error, just to get the name right, it is always safe for us to use the GCP project ID that has been provisioned for you. So in my case, it's the Quick Labs GCP 04 dash some random strings. You can also directly click the copy the GCP project ID from your lab page. And then the rest we just going to keep the same, and then we will create. So yeah, I just saw the question. Some participant says that you only can see the AI plot lab. You can that's actually let me. So on top left of your browser in the AI platform, there's a back button. So when you click that back button, it will lead you to the lab list of the specific quest. From there, you can select the second lab that we will be doing today. I'm just going to quickly redo my screen share. Cloud scale boost. 1 second, right? Okay. So in this on this page, you do have the back button. This back button will take you to this quest. In this quest, you have a list of labs. So we'll start from the second one, and once you click into there, you will be exactly where we're at now. Then yeah, let me know when there's extra questions that's coming up from the general stage that I can address if it comes to that.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I was checking how to help Ronak.
Oh, okay, sounds good. Okay, this is gonna get a little bit interesting. Let's go back to the Star Lab. It's asking me for a lab token, and it says the lab costs 1 credit. So Ryan, did you follow this step we mentioned that if you already have an account, log out, and then you would go to the Study Jam tab, a Study Jam page, and then enroll the specific request. That's when you will copy paste the access code. Then you just paste it in the chat, the 1S-Edmonton-2022. So that will grant you the access to the lab. So let us know if you still have that issue. If you still have that issue, we can ask Vanya just to go to that page. That if you cannot access this lab, what can you do? But the step 11 was literally grayed out. Okay, let's. So everyone else, if you're already in the lab, you can start with the data prep, but continue doing the lab. I will just start go to a little bit of the troubleshooting on how to access the stat gem. Okay, this screen share is giving me a little bit of trouble today. So when we are in this page, this is the link, Cloud Study Gems 2021. We go to the enroll, and this is when it will take us to a page. Oh man, it's not sharing. It will lead us to this quest page. Then we would enter that token. Sorry, no, that's not. So once you submit, it should take to this lab. In my case, because I've already logged in, so you can see my account already there. But in your case, once this gives you the access, the next thing you do is you would then sign into your account. And then once you get, I'm just going to pick a random lab now. Once you go to the lab, you should be able to start immediately. So also making sure, have you signed into your account? I tried that, but the start button was initially grayed out. Vanya, do you mind start a chat with Ryan, just making sure he really can have access to this lab?
Yeah, I have sent him a direct message.
Yeah. Yeah, we have Xinli in the general stage. Xinli, can you access the lab? This is exactly what we have been anticipating for this one. Most of the labs will be very simple, straightforward. So now let's just take our time and making sure everyone do have access to them. Okay, great. Xinli mentioned that she can access that. Yeah, for the sake of continue doing this lab, I am going to switch back to our main step. Okay, so following the first step, we created a bucket, and we use our project ID as the bucket name. So in this case, it is guaranteed this is unique, globally unique, because each of GCP projects ID is globally unique. So this will guarantee that we can successfully create that bucket. And once that's being done, making sure to click the check my progress button on the lab page, just so that it is a checkpoint there. Now the next step is we were going to start initialize the data prep. So again, on your set menu, in my case, I've already pinned this item here. If you haven't pinned that, just go down to the analytics section, and you will be able to see the data prep, and always pin this item. It is just for convenience. Later on, you don't have to scrolling down to locate this item. Once you pin it, it will automatically show up on the top. So we go to our data prep, and we will click on this box and agree and continue. And we will allow Transactors access to project data. Oh, sorry. I I gotta switch my screen share again. So we will take a break after this first lab is done, and I will fix my screen share. Then it will be convenient for everyone. So as you can see, we will continue just with the default path for now. We will continue. This will open up the data prep screen. In here, a few items on the sidebar. You do have your flows, plans, all the different items, and you do have your import, create a flow options on your right hand side. So in our case, we will making sure once you can have access to this page, check your progress again. And the next task we're going to start doing now is create a flow. So you can create. There's multiple places you can create a flow. You can create a flow right from the scratch here, or you can create a flow on your right hand side of the button here. So we're just going to create a flow here. It will lead you to an empty flow. In order to to have something to process here, we will need to create add a data set into here. Before we do that, let's change the name just so that later on this will be easily identified by us. We will have the title as EFC 2016, and we add a description of United States Federal Elections Commission 2016. Click OK. So now we can easily identify this. The benefit, when we go back to the flow, we do have, we have the default flows here, but also we will have this one we just named. Then we can very easily to get into this portion. Once that is done, next step, let's import the data set. I'm continue monitoring the chat just to making sure there's no extra question pop up. Ryan, I'm hoping Vanya is helping you to get access to that. If at the end of this lab you still do not have that access to that, I will help you with that. Now everything is in place. We have a blank flow with we enter our name there. On the top right hand side, you have add data sets, or you can directly click the connect to your data button. So either way, you can do that. This will automatically populate some default data set here, but these are not the one that we will be using in this lab. On the bottom left hand, you have the import data set. You click onto that, and you have different options now on the left-hand side that you can import your data. You can directly upload your file, or you can use Google Storage, or your data is stored in Google Sheets or BigQuery. You can all do that. So in our case, we will be doing the cloud storage. There is a public data storage. You will be accessing that data. So click the pencil by the cloud storage. This will give you the option to enter a specific storage link. So in the lab page, you do have the GS, the SP. I'm just going to copy paste here. So this would be the path you will be accessing the data. So keep in mind, all this information is in the lab page. You can just copy paste from there. So SPLS/GSP 105. And you go to this specific storage, and you can see the US FEC folder. Right into the folder, following the instruction, there are two items that we will add. The first one is the CN28. Sorry, that's not the one. First one would be the CN 2016. This is the file we need to add. So once you move your cursor on this item, you have the plus button on the left-hand side being emphasized. You just click onto that, and this will trigger a action on the right-hand side that this data set has been added, almost as if it's adding to your shopping cart. So in this case, we will rename this file as indicated on the lab page. So this one, we will name it as Candidate Master 2016. There's the second file we need to add. Is the which one is that? It's this one, itcont-2016-arrange. So we'll add that file as well, and then we change the name to Campaign Contributions 2016. again, copy paste that name from the lab page. So with these two in place, we are ready to import and add the flow. Oh, zooming a bit. Okay, let me do that. It's better. So the two files we're adding here, one is the CN 2016 text. The second one is the ITCONT-2016-orig text. And once you click on the site and we updated the name of these two data sets, and the next thing we can do is import and add to flow. This will automatically update the flow we originally have. The first one is the candidate master, and the second data set is the campaign contribution. So by default, on your right-hand side, it shows the recipe for the first data set we imported. In this case, we can click the edit recipe. This will populate the more visualized table and data view. Now, in this case, we can start, have a visualized view of what the data is included in the data set, a little bit of an overview regarding the data range and different options on top here. And the next step we will be doing is to do a filtering of the year. So take a look at column 5. So it shows the current range of the data is from 1990 to 2064. This is too much data that we will be dealing with in this lab. Well, not because data prep will not be able to. We do have following the lab that has specific range that we want to follow. So in order to do that, we would expand this. Just drag this column like you would do with any Excel or any spreadsheet solution. You expand this, then when you move your cursor onto here, it will you will see the one with the most amount of data here is 2016 and 2017. So you click onto that. It will automatically help you to sort of filter to the specific year. And on your suggestion panel here, it will give you a recipe here that you are filtering the data based on the year that is after 2016, but is before January 1st, 2018. So this includes the year 2016 and 2017. So this is exactly what we need. Then we can just add this recipe. Once you do that, now you have your first step here. Only keep rows between the timestamp of that. The second step that we will be doing is that currently, if we look at column 6, there's a red indicators here, meaning that there are some is not desired or mismatch what this column is supposed to be. In order to eliminate these data, we can click on the flag here, and we can do a filtering that we only take string value for that. So once you select this option, it automatically populates a second recipe here, lock column 6 type to string. So any type that is not string will be filtered out. After that, let's take a look at the next step is we look at column 7. So in this column, we have the H and the P, two different options. How do we know that? When you move your cursor on top of these two bars, it says H has a 60.69%, and then you have P as 39.31%. So the lab indicates us click on the P option. So once we click on that, it will again have another suggestion on the right hand side. So based on our intention, by clicking on that bar, the suggestion making here is that we want to filter out column 7 to only keep this column that has a P in it. So we added this as well. So this again will automatically add another recipe into this into this list. So once everything is done, we can just run this job. This will automatically processing the data that is shown in this list based on the steps we have specified. So that every time when this new data come in, this this can also be run. So this is the first step of this lab. Once at the end, we do have these 3 different recipes here, and we look at our data. We should not have any red indicator. That means that indicate the data is wrong anymore. It's a little, but we can ignore that. But other than that, this is already being processed. We're using simple UI tools to specify the kind of filtering we need. Okay, so moving to the next step is we're going to join 2 different data sets. Drop a line in the chat if you have already completed the first one. This is the prep of the candidate file. So in the next step, we will be start joining 2 different tables. This is up to you whether you want to run this job or not, but it is not required in this step. For us to go back to the flow, there are different ways. You can go directly to the flows and then re-click on the name FEC-2016 and getting there, or you can directly click on this file name here. This will lead us back to this previous page. Now, what do we do? Click on this data set. And on the sidebar, there's an add button in here. We click on it. We add a, we can add join. Let me see if this is, yeah, let's add a recipe. And for this recipe, we would just add it, the recipe. Just open up the second data set. At this time, we didn't add a name for the recipe, which is fine. Now this data is being loaded. Last time, what we did with the data filtering is we click on a specific column, and then there's a suggestion that we would enter the recipe. So this time is slightly different, is that we would use a command. This is the replace patterns. This is when we start copying the command from the lab. We would copy the first one. Here we would add a step, and then we paste what we copied there, and it will automatically process that command and then give you the sort of recipe, the patterns we want to do. And on the left-hand side, you can see there's the source, there's a preview based on the replace patterns command we just pasted here. And when we verify everything is exactly what we need, we would just add this recipe. So in this case, the command we copied it turned into a recipe. So this is just a different way that we would add the data processing into data prep. The second step, now we're going to join table. So again, we would add a new step. In here, what we can do is we can search the keyword join, and what's pop up on the first of the list is join data sets. We click on that. So now it lists all the available data sets we currently have. The candidate master, this is the one we would want to join. So we click on that, and then we would accept. Right at this point, in order for the 2 tables to join together, we need to find the common column or the common keys that we can really link these 2 tables together. There are suggestions here, column 9 and column 3. but in our lab, it is, this is just a name string. It should not be used as the criteria to join this to table. So in order to update this, we can click on the pencil on the column 9 here. It will then populate a bunch of suggested keys that we need to join together. So the one that we will be choosing is column 2 and column 11. Once you click on that, it's not allowing me. Okay, there you go. And once you click on that, this content here is being updated, and then we click Save and Continue. It will provision these 2 columns to us just to this the IDs, or it is the keys that you want to join. And as we can see here, they're exactly what we need. And then we click on Next, and we review the join whether it's right. Seems to be right, and then we just review it, and we add it to recipe. Now, by doing that, we are telling data prep for these 2 tables what are the keys that we want them to join, and then we basically constructed that into a recipe here. So now we have this 2 table joined. Okay, I'm constantly monitoring the chat just to making sure everyone is following, or if there's any issues that I can address. So at this time, the table is being joined together. The next step is the summary of the data. So in this case, we can continue using the new steps here. We would add the new step. This is when where I mentioned earlier, there are certain things. There are certain content in the lab is now updated. So if you directly copy the pivot values command from the lab, you will have an issue, because one of the column it is asking is grouped by column 2, 24, and 8. When we stretch this table to the very far right-hand side, as you can see, we only have column 22. So only you have a column 22. So the column 24 actually does not exist. In the latest step, you will know the column that is requesting here is the name. So one suggestion we need to do is that we can copy that command into a text editor, any kind of text editor, and change the column 24 to column 9. That will address your issue. So I will just do it on my end. Change the column 22 to column 9. And then copy that command back here, back to here. So this is what we're processing here. And just making sure, if in your case you have a column 24, it will show red error, and you can either just eliminate there, or just click on the X button to get rid of that column, or you can go back to your command and manually update column 24 to column 9. Then that should solve your problem. So once we confirm this is what we need, we add this recipe. Now we pivot this table in a specific way. Now the next step is that now we have this data being processed and being pre-processed, but the column 9, column 2, those names really doesn't make much sense to us. So what we do is that we will rename those column names. So again, in this case, if you see anything that's mentioned column 24, we will need to update that column 9. Check if there's a column 24, the candidate name. So in reality, that is column 9. We will update that command and then add a new step here. And then we copy paste that. So in this case, if you have the column 24 error, making sure to update the column 9, and our preview now actually shows the column 2, column 9, those titles gone. We now change it to more readable, human readable name, and confirm everything is correct. We will just add. And in the new step, it just set a average. It just set a rounding. So as we can see here, the average contribution sum. There's a certain field has very long decimals. In reality, we don't really need that. So we just add a step to round this column. So for the average contribution sum, we would round that just to integer is enough, and we would add that recipe. So in this case, as you can see, all this column now does not really have the long decimals anymore. So at this point, all the processing we need to done is complete. We can either exit the lab as it is now, or we can just do something fun, just to run this flow. You can click on the run. Then the publishing actions, this is telling you where this processed data will be stored if we run this job. And then later on, let's just go check out that storage. We should be able to see that file there. We can, just in case this probably need to be processed. So this is where the output will be. We just need to wait for a couple minutes for this data transforming job is done. Again, one thing keep in mind is that in data flow, we don't really process the source data. We're just referencing the source data and the process. Oh, check that field. Okay, fine. Guess this is now allowing us to actually run this job then. That is fine. So at this point, if you check your lab, I'm going to switch back to my lab view. Now, in our lab view, because we already finished the last rounding task, and we will see the results exactly like what is showing here. And also, you should be able to see on your right-hand side is 100 out of 100. That means this lab is completed. And at this time, you can safely end your lab. Just be careful. Sometimes it may take 10 to 15 seconds if you have run through the lab too quick. This will stop at, let's say, 75 out of 100. You just need that 10, 15 seconds. Wait till this is updated to 100 out of 100. Then you can enter the lab. You can submit this result. And so once that is done, if we go back to the previous page, you should now be able to see the data prep quick start has a green check button there. Now, please drop us a line in the in the stage channel, just so that we know everyone is follow along. If there's any questions, now would be the time before we jump into the next lab. I will be monitoring that. Meanwhile, I will see how I can effectively showing my tabs properly. Xing Li, do you mind jumping to the backstage and making sure everyone is aware that I'm just fixing the screen share and help answer the questions that everyone may have? Let's see. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Let's take a short break. We're going to be back at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. That would be 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And we will resume to the next to the next lab, data flow. This one will be a little bit simpler. The data prep one is actually among the labs we're touching on is the most complicated one, and also because there are certain steps that was not given the right information in cloud scale boost. So you might have a little bit challenge there. But keep in mind, if you ever see the column 24 error, it is because when we join the two tables, there's only 22 columns. You can update that column 24 in your command into column 9, and you should be able to successfully complete the rest step for the first lab. Other than that, I will be right back. Alrighty, I think I finally figured out the screen share issues. Vanya, I think Vanya is back now. Just to do a check is to see if everyone's still with us.
Yeah, I just noticed that there are some people having problem to access to the Quick Labs. So
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out that.
Okay.
And I also want to make a, a reminder about that we have prizes.
Yeah.
That if you share with us that you completed 3 labs, you will eligible for the draw for the Amazon gift cards.
Yeah. So we're gonna leave the exciting part to later. Vanya, while still have 3 minutes, so I let everyone know I was just offline just to get the screen share part in
Okay,
place. Yeah. So we're asking everyone to come back at 11 a.m. Mountain Time and 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So we still have 3 minutes. If you have any volunteer registration, that kind of with
Oh
everyone.
yeah, for sure. I'm going to drop the link. So if you want to join us or to volunteer with us, just a moment. Yeah, this is the link. So you can fill the form and you can join us as our volunteer. Thank you.
Thanks, Fenio, for that. So in our chat, we shared a link that if you want to become volunteers at GDG at Edmonton, that's the link you will be able to access the registration form. And let's give everyone 2 more minutes to get back to the event. We're just taking a short break. And the next lab we will be doing, let me properly share my screen this time, is the data flow. And there are 2 data flow labs there. We only need to take one of them. One is through the template, another is through Python. We'll be doing the through template one. All right, let's get this started. So this one is the slightly different lab in the sense that I'm gonna again someone window a little. So there are two. There's two. Create a big query dataset method. One is through Cloud Share. One is through console. So in this lab, we don't have to do both of them. We just need to do either or. The reason being is otherwise you will be creating the duplicated entities, and you probably will get complaints on that. But other than that, let's get this started. The way we will be accessing or creating the data set in this session will be through the Cloud Shell. So as always, we have the Start Lab. Hopefully, Ryan, now you do have the ability to start the lab. And we can click on the button to access the Cloud Console, and we will copy the password. Click Accept. We will then enter the provisioned GCP project with the necessary resources we need for this lab. Click Agree. We don't need the email update. This is a temporary account. Okay, all those are ready. I'm now going to split this screen into another one just so that I can always see the instructions. Now we're in the Cloud Console. the way we will be creating the data set is through the Cloud Shell. So again, getting this screen bigger. Now let's click on the top right-hand side, the active Cloud Shell. We will then getting to the Cloud Shell part. So the first command we will be executing is bq mk taxi writes. So bq stands for BigQuery, mk make, and then text write. So this is basically creating a data set in BigQuery. In order for us to really monitor that on the sidebar, we can click the BigQuery and enter the BigQuery page. Now, currently, there's no data set, as you can see. We will execute that command, bqmk text writes, authorize. So as you can see, the data set is being created. We would just click onto another tab and then come back. We should be able to see this new data set here. The next thing, so once you're done here, making sure to click on the button that check my progress. I'm actually just going to do this. Return back here. So we already created that BigQuery data set, and this is the result we will see. And then we click on check my progress. Now the next step we will be doing is run a BigQuery to create a table. So again, we just copy this command, coming back to the console, and then we would paste the command here and run. And as we can see the table here, this is the project ID, this is the data set, and then the real time, this is the table we're creating. As we can see, this value is also here now. With that being done, we also check our progress. Now, the next thing we will be doing is create a bucket. Similar as we mentioned before, we always need to use a unique name. So in this case, we can copy our project ID for that part. So I would just copy this. And then coming back here, copy the project ID and paste. So now we have our bucket name here. The next step is just to create a bucket using that name through console. Creating, so now that's been created. In order to double check that, we can always go to the cloud storage into browser, and we should be able to see a bucket with our project ID as the name there. Once that is done, we can also click check my progress just so that this part is done. So as we mentioned, if we already created that data set through Cloud Shell, we don't need to create the data set through console anymore. But feel free later on to rerun this lab just to see how you can directly using the console rather than the Cloud Shell to create exactly the resources we need there. Now we go to the run the pipeline part. So we will start showing a little bit of advantage why we did the Cloud Console, because we actually have the necessary names here. Things like what's the data set, what's the table. Later on, we can just directly copy paste from the console rather than we need to find out what's the actual name for it. So let's get that started. So first, go to navigation menu, find the data flow. We're going to come here. If you do not have data flow here, we click into the mob products. Go find the data flow under analytics, tools analytics. So in here, again, as always, pin data flow, and then now we come into this part. So this is sort of the basic UI for the data flow. And the next thing we do is that we would click on the job from template. So in this case, we would create a job named IoT flow. And then for the data flow template, we are using the pub subtopic to BigQuery. So let's get that started first. We want to click on create a job from template. The job name, we will be using just IoT flow. Leave the region exactly the same. In here, we would enter pub subtopic to BigQuery. So this is the template we will be using. this will automatically populate some of the components or the processing that will be done. So in here, it's asking what is the pub sub topic. So in this specific case, we will be using a public pub sub topic. In this case, there is the link here. So this will be the public. It is inside of this public data project. There's a topic taxi rides real time. So what we are trying to do here is that we were building that flow from data flow to subscribe to this topic, so that whenever this data being pushed to that topic, our data flow will be fetching those data. So we would copy this and paste it in here. So BigQuery output table. So earlier we through the Cloud Console, we create a big table data set and a table. Now we can come here and check the logs. This is the table we created. So we basically copied this part and then paste it here. So every data that is being pulled through the subscription will be right into this data table. And a temporary location. Earlier we created a bucket with the project and ID. So this is the bucket here. And what we're doing now is that we add a temp folder to this bucket. And yeah, and the temp file will just be storing there. So the rest keep the same. Let's start run the job. Sometimes this won't automate it. Oh, there you go. It's actually being automated, populated. And these are the flows that's gonna happen with this template. First step is to read from the subtopic. So whenever some new data is pushed there, it will be run from there, and they do the conversion and the write to the data to BigQuery. So this is basically the flow. We did the the topic, and then we set up the output table. We set up the temporary location. Once everything is done there, and making sure to click check my progress. Okay, so this part is also done. The next step is we probably need to wait for a couple of minutes just so that there is actually data being pushed to the topic, and then our subscription, the data flow, the subscription portion is also reading data from there. Just to add a little bit of color to this, we can go to PubSub. Again, PubSub is not on the site. Let's locate. PubSub is. It's also under analytics. Pin this item. So if we go to PubSub, earlier we mentioned we are listening, we're subscribing to a public topic. So in this case, we don't really have any topics in our table because we didn't create our own PubSub. But instead, if we go to the subscriptions, we'll be able to see there's the taxi rides real time to the topic. So this is just adding a little bit of context where the BigQuery data that we will be querying is coming from. Now, if we go to BigQuery console and go to that table, we can just open up this table and then let's preview and just to see whether there's data in here. So currently we don't have data yet, but just for the sake of this lab, we also add a query editor here. We would try to find all the data from this real-time table, which we're supposed to fetch from the public topic. And then, yeah. So why it is giving me the complaint? Okay, there you go. If I run this query, currently there's still no data. So let's just wait for a few minutes. While if we have any questions, please send the question through the chat. What I would do is I would go to data flow again and just to check the logs and see if there's an actual data writing happening. We're executing operation. So it seems it's still running. Go back to BigQuery. And take a look at a preview. Okay, there you go. So as you can see, there are real-time data being pulled from the public topic here. So this is one way to check whether there is data in the real-time table. And another way, as suggested in the lab, we would go do a query. So in this case, we would just select all from this table and then click run. So whenever you open the query right from this table, it will automatically populate with the table you are querying, and we just need to select all. Select all. Oh, sorry. Let's do it again. Select all. There you go. And then we run this query, we should get the same kind of result as we would do the preview on the table. So we have all those data. So this basically means that we successfully built a data flow that is subscribing to a public topic. There are other sources that has been pushing data into that public topic, and as a subscriber to that topic, we are pulling that data, and through data flow that we build, the data is being ported from the subscription into Bigtable, so that later on we can do the necessary processing we need in BigQuery, or we can link this BigQuery data source, this table, into Data Studio, and then populate the more visual aspect of the data. At this point, we should have a 100 out of 100 because we have already complete all those parts. And let's finish the test your understanding. Supports batch processing. True, false. True. Which data flow template is used in this lab to run the pipeline? As we have been constantly mentioning, this one, we subscribe to a public topic and then put the data and write into BigQuery. So the component or the template we're using is pub sub to BigQuery and submit. So this marks the completion of this lab, and we can safely end this lab. And that is done. One good practice is always for the data flow part, because if we do not stop, it is constantly pulling data from the public topic. What we do is come here and we would stop this data flow. In this case, we would drain just so that it will finish whatever job is in process, but that it won't start any new jobs. And in here, let's just waiting for the status is stopped, and then we can safely exit this project. Vanya, are you following along?
Oh no, I'm just doing some organizational duties.
Okay, awesome. Do we have any question in the chat? Does not seem so.
For me, no. On my end, it doesn't show any on the chat.
Okay, we're just gonna take it as everyone is following along. Most of the labs in this quest is fairly straightforward, because again, this is more the introductory level for us to getting prepared for the later on more advanced topics. So as long as you can follow the instructions and complete those labs, either during the session or afterwards, it's all good. Do remember, if you finish the first one, the AI platform lab, you will be automatically given 1 month free access to Skill Boost. Once you finish the entire quest, you will get an additional month of free access. So keep that in mind. Now, as we can see, the status is already drained, so this job already being stopped. And what we do is we would sign out. Ooh, sorry. if there's no questions, we'll be jumping into the next lab. Just going to take a look at it before I jump into the next one. If you're following along and even you don't have any questions, if you can give us a thumbs up in the chat, that would be great, just so that we know we can move into the next lab. Thanks, Jonathan. And also let us know if we're going a little bit too fast. We did have a schedule or sort of agenda for this lab, but because most of the content is fairly fundamental, so we might go a little bit ahead of the schedule at this time. So this will allow us to answer any questions that you potentially have regarding accessing the lab. We had a little bit rocky starting, but hopefully everyone is following along now. Thanks, Alex. Okay, let's wait for 2 more minutes. So it will be 1:20 Eastern time or 11:20 Mountain time. We will be starting the next one, data proc. This is also a very simple lab. So we will be trying to use Google Cloud Console to create Dataproc cluster, and we will run a simple Apache Spark job to calculate pi, and then we would modify the worker for the cluster, and then we run that job again. So again, very simple, very straightforward task. Some other suggestions or tips when you are doing this kind of lab is that there is student resources here. So all these resources, if you open it up, it's a YouTube videos. It gives you a sort of introduction on what what the lab is about. It's always useful just to hear a little bit from Googler what the task is about. All right, let's start the third lab. So in this lab, as we mentioned, we will be creating a Dataproc cluster. So the initial cluster will be one master and the two workers, and later on we would update the worker number in place, meaning the class already been created. We just updated the number for the workers and then rerun that. So let's do that. So start the lab as always. Then we would open console. So just for the sake of not being overly polluted by the list. Okay, there you go. We would now copy the student's username, which is email here, and then password. Accept. Then we will enter the console. agree. As always, no need to click the email updates. Then we are here. So the first step is we would navigate it to data proc and the clusters and then create a cluster. So on the side, we don't see a cluster. So this should also be under analytics. Let's go find analytics. And we should have data proc. Pin this item and we're entering here. We would create a cluster. Now there are specifications that are being outlined here. So the name for the cluster would be example cluster. Region, we're just going to use US Central 1, and the zone, we're using US Central 1A. Everything else will remain the same. We will just click create. Now this may take a couple minutes just to provision the master and the worker nodes. We can use refresh just to making sure everything is in place. If we click into the clusters, we can get a little bit more insights on what this cluster is about. What job is currently being run? There's no jobs. VM instances, as we mentioned, that there would be one master and then two workers, and then these are the instance. Similarly, you can just go to your computer engine and then go to your VM instances to see these three instances. There's configurations to tell you, currently is one master node and the two work nodes. Everything else should be fairly straightforward. Okay, let's waiting for a few more seconds until the provision is done. While we're doing that, let's see. So I'm just going to try whether I can check my progresses now. I can't click on this because the cluster is still provisioning. So the status would change to running once this is done. But let me check my progress. Oh, actually, it actually allowed me to do that. So meanwhile, the status already changed to running. So that's all good. Now, next step is we would submit a job. The job submission is on the side. You can see we have the clusters and we also have the jobs. We can just go into the jobs and we would submit our job. And there's are a few things that we need to specify. The cluster, we already built the example cluster. So we're going to select that. Job type, we're going to do a Spark job. And there are the other specifications we need to copy here. The main class, which are, this is the calculation of pi. And then the arguments here, I think it's one, okay, the jar file. You also need that. And the arguments here is 1000. So that should be it. That's all we need. And once we specify everything there, we can just submit this job. And yeah, we will have the output here. And what we want to keep an eye on here is that the final calculation of pi. That's the result that we're looking for. So as we can see, everything started. While we're waiting for this, let's take a peek on what's the next task. So once this job is done, we can click check the progress, and then we would be monitoring. Let's just check the progress now. The next thing we would be looking at is the output, and the one thing that we're focusing here is pi is roughly what number that is. So let's go back to here. Our job is also done. Pi is roughly 3.1416. Pretty accurate. Now, so this part is done. If we go to the job list, we should also be able to see status is succeeded. So that's when we completed this view the job output as well. Next thing we will be doing is just in place. So the cluster is already running. Now I would want to add a couple more workers. So in this case, it's very easy to do. We go to the cluster list, find the example cluster we created, and then we go to the configuration. And there's this pencil edit button here. We would add it. It will, on the sidebar, it will tell you what do you want to update. In our case, we just updated the workers into 4, and then save it. So we can immediately go to the VM instances. It's coming back here again. We can see there are 2 other workers being provisioned. Once that's done, we will be trying to submit another job. So still updating. This might take a minute or so. So once this part is done, check my progress, updated. The next thing is we will create a exactly same job as we did earlier, and just making sure after that in place edit, everything still works. Okay, so this update is complete, and we can just submit a job from here. We will do a Spark and go back and copy the Spark Pi. Also need the jar file and arguments as what we used before will be a solvent, and everything is in place. Submit this job. Similarly, we'll be monitoring this job through the log and keep an eye on where is the final calculation result for the pi. As we can see, pi is roughly 3.14. So job is also succeeded. So if we go to the job list, we should be able to see 2 jobs here, because we already, based on the 2 workers and then the 4 workers, the different kind of calculations. With that, we completed this lab. And again, this lab is very simple. We started with creating a cluster with the default 1 master 2 worker nodes, and we submitted a pi calculation job, and we then validate the results from the log, and then we in place updated the cluster to 4 workers, and at the end we rerun that job again, or we started a new job with exactly the same content. And now let's with the test your understanding. Which type of dataprog job is submitted in the lab? Is Spark. Dataprog helps users process, transform, and understand the vast quantities of data. True? False? True. Okay. As you see the 100 out of 100, that means you have completed the system. Consider you completed this lab. We would just end it here. Now that marks the completion of the 3rd lab. Give us a thumbs up in the chat if you complete this one, just so that we know we can safely move into the next 2. So the next 2 will be a little bit more interesting. We will be doing invoke some of Google's APIs to do analysis on text or audio file. Very simple labs, but it will be interesting just to go through with everyone. If we're being too fast, also let us know. No problem. Thanks, Alex. Okay, let's get started with this one. It's the natural language API. So I'll quickly go through what this lab is about. So in this lab, what we will be doing is that we would use the analyze entities method to call natural language API and extract entities from a snip of text. So how we would be doing that is we would create a request. The first is create an API key, and then we would create sort of a request against a content here is a string, and then we would let the analyze entities endpoint to analyze this string and give us an analytical results at the end. With that being said, let's get this started. I would open the console. Get the password. Accept. We would agree to the terms. No need to subscribe to the email update. Now we're here. So the first thing that we're doing here is creating API keys. So this is the Cloud Console based. So we would start the Cloud Shell. Continue. Okay. Let's follow the instructions here. We will copy this command. We will get the project ID and then write that into the environment variable. Doing that. A quick check would be just to echo this value, making sure we have exactly what we need. So this project ID is exactly the same as what we can see up there. So that's all good. The second step is we're using the IAM service accounts to create a service account. Before we do that, we can go to the let's double check here. Yeah, we can go to the IAM just to see if we do have a service account named the same or. So in here, if I go to service account, so currently there's only two. Now we will be creating one, the G-Cloud IAM service account, and the new name we're creating is my -netlan-sa. So that's completed. If we do a refresh, we should be able to see the new service account we created here. And then we go to the next step. So once service account is created, we would then create a key. Then we would get a JSON file that we can use locally to authenticate your machine to access through that service account. So this is what we would be doing. Is the IAM service account keys create. Once this command is done, we should have a key file locally. There you go. So if we do l/la, we should be able to see the key JSON file here. The next step is that we would define the application credentials in this file. So this is another location you need to be careful. If let's execute this command directly and see what we get. We would do this. So in theory, this is the location for the file. If I do a cat to print out this location, I should be able to see the key, but you will get an error. It says home user key. There's no such file directory. The reason being is if we do apwd, they give us the current location. As you can see, it's home, and the user should be an environment variable that is indicated the student underscore 00 underscore 6a. This is the actual user. So the earlier definition or the the variable we defined is not sufficient enough for us to actually locate this file. So what we do here is we go back to export again. We will replace the user with this user ID. Now let's do a cat and see if we can find that file. So now this is right. Once that's done, let's check our progress. Then let's move on to the next task. Now we're just doing the more fun part, is doing the entity analysis. So for this one to work, there's an instance, there's a provisioned instance. If we go to the computer engine and under the instance list, this is the instance that we need to SSH into. Now, when you're doing it, you can directly click on the SSH to get into that. But if I do that, I will reshare my screen. So in my case, I would just do a SSH through console. But if you click the SSH in your local, in your environment, you will get the same kind of environment that will be executing the commands in. So gcloud compute SSH on Linux instance. Specify the zone is US Central 1-A. Now let's see. Okay, now I'm inside the VM. So you should be seeing the same thing. You have your user ID and then the instance name, Linux instance. So now let's see the next step. So what we do now is that inside the provisioned VM, we would execute this command, gcloud ml language analyze entities, and then we send the content of the analysis. So before we even do anything, let's just look at this content here. Michelangelo, Italian painter, is known for the calling of Saint Matthew. So this is, again, first of all, this is an English string, and we do have a people's name, Michelangelo, and Italian painter. Italy represents the location, and then we do have another name for a specific entity or painting that we're referring to. So when we do an entity analysis on this, we should get a similar kind of result, just so that we won't be surprised by the actual functionality. We do that. We do this analysis. Again, this is a query directly against the Google API. So there's no training model. There's no validation that we need to do on our end. We just directly use it as a service. Now we should have a result, a JSON file locally. We do a cat, and just to see what's the result is showing us. In your case, it should be the same. So because we're doing the analyze entities, so the return is an array of entities. The first one we see here is Michelangelo. It's a person. So this is the first entity analysis. And also it gives you a meta, just go to where the Wikipedia page is for Michelangelo. And then the second entity is being touched on is Italian. So in this case, Italy, we're determining this is the location. So the entity we analyzed. And then the third one is an event, the calling of St. Matthew. So, and also there's a Wikipedia link for that. So, very simply, we just invoked a API request to the Google Cloud Natural Language API, and analyze this string, and this is the results we're getting. Very simple, very straightforward to use. So at this point, let's mark the entity analysis request is done. We checked the result, everything looks fine. You can do your comparison with the expected outcome here. You should get the similar kind of result. With that, we had 100 out of 100. That means we can safely complete this lab. in here, we will sign out this lab, and also just to make this less polluted, we will remove those accounts. There you go. So we have one lab left. If in the chat, you can let us know whether you are following along by a thumbs up or you have any questions. Please do let us know. We'll give a couple minutes and then we will head into the last lab for this session, Cloud Speech API. A little bit preview on this in this lab. In this lab, again, we'll create an API key. So previously, we created the API key from the Cloud Shell. In this one, we will directly go to the console, and by click different buttons, we will be creating the API key, and then we will create a speech request. Previously, we attached a string as content in the request in the natural language API, but in this case, we will create a JSON as a request, and then we attach the JSON to the request sending to the API, and then we let the speech API to analyze the audio file that is being indicated in the request, and then to see what kind of results we'll get. So for Jing, yes, I can do that. Let me just go back to the previous lab. The reason being that that command is not working. Yeah. So the reason being, Jing, for your reference, this one doesn't work, is that the user here is supposed to be a invariant variable that is reading whatever the user ID on your site. You have the sort of username, user ID. We need to replace the user by that. So in this case, you can copy paste that. I'm just going to use it here, and then you replace this user by your actual student ID rather than the actual student ID being provisioned for the lab instead of just using user, because in this way not be able to locate the file because there's no actual account in the virtual machine that is called a user. So all you need to do is to replace this by the student ID. Everything else is fine. It's just this one part. I would not say that's very crucial in this lab. The reason being is when we did the entity analysis, we actually was using a provisioned Linux instance. We did not do the analysis in the Cloud Shell. So I would say the impact is fairly low for you to complete this lab, but it just thought you have to be careful here that if we would want to validate this command, then there's an issue here. Alrighty, let's get into the last lab. Last lab is also very simple. You compose your request in a JSON file, and then you send your request, attach that request JSON file to the Google's Cloud Speech API, and then there's that's the same file that is being used in the lab material. So at the end, we should get identical or very similar result. So with that being said, let's get it started. We will come here, start lab as usual, open Cloud Console, already being provisioned with this user ID, and copy the password. Entering here, patiently waiting for the pop-up. and agree. No need to email updates. Alrighty, so this is all we need for this part. And then next, let's go to create API. Again, as I mentioned in the previous lab, we created the API key through the Cloud Shell, but in this one, we will go directly to API services credentials to create. So on your side, you should have this item pinned on top, and then you go to credentials. Then in here, you would create a credential. In here, we're not doing the service key. We're just going to do an API key. And this would be the API key value. Copy that. Let's just say you forgot to copy it, and also that the model, the pop-up is not showing again. You can always come down here to show keys to get your key again. So that's the part that's done. And then we check my progress to create API key portion. And then the next thing we move on to is to move on to the computer engine. There's a provisioned instances there. You can click the SSH button to SSH into the machine. I would do the same as I did last time using the Cloud Shell, just so that I won't be jumping to another window that I need to reshare my screen. So in here, what we do is that we come down here to the compute engine. We should be able to find that virtual machine there. For you, you can safely just click the SSH. Hiding for button. In my case, I'm going to activate the Cloud Shell. And I would do a command gcloud compute SSH Linux instance. And then specify zone as US Central 1-8. Okay. With that, I'm now within the instances. If you click SSH, you should also be able to see the same thing. This is the user ID, and this is the virtual machine name. As it mentioned that we need to export the API key. So later on, when we make the request, we need to authorize that request by attaching the API key. So we copy the first part, copying here, and what's the API key? Oh, I've already forgot. Then we come back here to the credentials, find the API key we just created, and then we show the key, copy that, and then export that in here. Again, always validate whether the export actually worked. Do an echo API key. Okay, or it's good. Now let's jump to the next step. So we will create our API speech API request. So this is a JSON file. We just touch and then nano. So use touch to create a file. Copy this command. So if you do an ls-a, you should not be able. You should not have any request file yet. Do a touch. We now should have an empty file called request.json. The next thing we do is we would nano into an editor. We would nano into this file and we can edit our request body here. So this is the part that we would copy and paste into the request.json file. Simply copy this part and come here. So just take a quick look at it. What's this request? This request is saying this audio file. The URI for this audio file is in a cloud bucket. It's the cloud sample test speech brooklyn.flac file. And the config says the encoding for this file is FLAC and the language is English. So with this in place, what we want the Cloud Speech API to do now is to analyze the content in that audio file. So once you already copy paste it here, you do a Control X and then Y, and then complete. just again to validate that the request is actually being made into the request.json. What we do is a cat request.json. We have the config, we have the audio that we specified. The next step, so once you have the request body in place, we can just check the progress. Next thing we do is actually calling the API. So it's a curl command here. It's a curl post, and the data we're sending is a binary, is the JSON request.json that we just created, and this is the endpoint we're invoking against speech.googleapis.com/v1 speech recognize. And again, this is where the environment variable we just attached to it, the API key. So let's just copy this request and then come in here. And then let's do an analysis on that. There you go. So very quickly, we get our result. The result is saying the transcript for that audio file is how old is the Brooklyn Bridge. So if we come back here, this is exactly the same result that we are getting from the expected output. So the confidence here is 0.9826. Let's see the confidence level, 0.9828. So yeah, this may vary, but as long as the transcript part is exactly the same, then we can call it a success on this lab. So the next step is we will be rerunning that request, because currently the result is just being printed in your console, but it's not stored anywhere. In order for you to persist that result, what you can do is you can then write stream that result into a result.json file. So we copy this, we run this command again. Now there's no result being printed in the console. So let's just do a ls-a. We can see the result.json file there, and then we do a cat result.json. We should be exactly the same. So we get the transcript, how it is the Brooklyn Bridge, and then the confidence level. With that, we come to the end of this lab. Mark that as done. And as you can see here, we're at 68 at 100. We just need for a few seconds for this to be updated to 100%. Then we can close the, as you can see, 60 bumped to 100. So this happens sometimes. So do not enter the lab prematurely. Always validate that you are at 100 out of 100, and then you can complete the lab. With that, we completed all the agenda that we outlined for today fairly fast. I did not really get any questions from the chat regarding we're going too fast or too slow. Again, so these two are very simple tasks as long as you know how to compose those requests later on. If you have your own customized content that you need to invoke those services, this give you the instructions or the steps that you can follow to complete that. The first 3 labs we did is mostly focusing on the individual services data prep for basically manipulate the data set into a specific format so that later on you can leverage those data, those formatted data for other analysis. And we use data flow, basically porting data in different ways. The specific template we use in this case is pub sub topic to BigQuery. We subscribe to a public topic, and once other sources push the data to the topic, then it will trigger the subscribers, or the subscribers will put that data, and then through data flow, we write that data into BigQuery for later analysis or visualize that data into other services in other data dashboarding solutions such as Data Studio. We use Dataproc to start a cluster and run Spark jobs. run Spark jobs, and we updated the Cloud Console. Oh, sorry, we updated the worker number and just to see how we can edit that cluster in place and rerun the job again. With that being said, can we repeat the lab, or does this take more credits? Ryan, no, it does not take actual credits. You can rerun. You can rerun the lab. I do think there is a limit for monthly how many times you can rerun your lab, but when you redo the lab, it does not take actual credits to run. So feel free to afterwards, go try out those labs again. With that being said, Vanya, do you want to take over for the exciting part that everyone has been anticipating?
Sure, thanks, Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to share the slide.
Yeah. Before we do that, anyone who wants to participate in the random draw that's coming up, please send a thumbs up in the chat right now, just so that we know you're still with us, and we will add your name into the random draw, and there will be gift cards coming out your way if you are being selected. Vanya, go ahead.
Yeah, one moment. Yeah, as Ray say, yeah, please show your thumbs up on the chat. And in 1 hour at 1 p.m. Mountain, 3 p.m. Eastern, yeah, you can show us your achievement on the quest that you have completed, and yeah, we can add you to the draw.
Yeah. So Vanya, we've already completed the today's sort of study jam sessions, so we can actually let's just give everyone a few moments to give their thumbs up, but we can start doing the random draw very quickly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can give like how many minutes you want to wait for the thumbs up for the draw.
Let's wait for let's give 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. We need those thumbs up just to show to add your name to the draw wheel.
Hey, Venya, do you want to get it started?
Sure. Only only 3 contestants. Is that right, Ray? Can you verify me?
Yes. Well, given the thumbs up, I think what we will be doing is that again, appreciation for the folks stayed along with us, and let's just give them one, each one of them a prize. How does that sound?
Should I run the wheel or
We can, but after 3 rounds of running, everyone will get it.
after 3 rounds? Okay. Okay, just one moment.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like I need to do 2 more.
Yeah, do that. Here you go, Ryan.
Should I do another one as well?
Yes. Did we plan for how many? Did we plan for?
3,
Okay. Yeah. Then let's just do another one.
for sure. Statistics are awesome.
There you go.
Congratulations, Jonathan and Ryan.
Yeah. Even in the random draw, like still at the end, everyone gets a prize. Again, congratulations to Ryan and Jonathan, and again, thank you very much for sticking with us to the end. We had a fairly rocky beginning. I think we learned our lesson from this session, and in 3 weeks we're going to have our second quest. In that quest, we will touch on a little bit more advanced topics. And please join us in 3 weeks. And you might have the opportunity to win some gift cards again.
Thanks for yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thanks for joining us today, and we hope that you got at this learning uh, opportunity with us. And yeah, we are excited to see you for our next quest.
Yeah, Vanya, do you want to contact both Jonathan and Ryan after this, just to arrange the prize with them?
Yes, for sure. For sure. Thanks, Ray.
Okay, sounds good. Ryan, Jonathan, stay tuned. With that being said, that concludes this event, and looking forward to see everyone in the next event. And have a good weekend and take care.